All right, Jacob, it's leave the office early day today. Please tell me that you were able to leave work early today since of this great national holiday.
I did not. I was unaware of this holiday in which someone would have let me know because I would have definitely dipped early.
Oh man, I can't. Oh, the bosses out in the world probably kept this day a secret. Honestly, I didn't even know about it till I was watching part or part of the interruption today, and they brought it up. I was like, oh man, granted I don't work anyways right now, so it didn't matter. Just, that was a good day, but
I'm gonna have a talk with Sam tomorrow and let her know how I feel.
yeah, you'll have to let her know. Make sure that she has that one down the calendar next year. But welcome, boys and girls, to the Lone Brother Podcast. For today, which I think I could imagine would be a shorter show. I've said that before, and we've still rambled on for 50 minutes, so I guess we'll see how that goes. But today we're gonna have talk about the NBA. We had the conference finals and the finals starting today. Some college basketball, and then a little MLB to finish the day. But to start the show, we talk about the conference finals, which last time we had this show, the Warriors, I believe, already won their series, correct, Jacob, or not?
I mean,
No, 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 they wouldn't have because we didn't have a show last week.
yeah. So it's been 2 weeks because last week it just didn't work out.
Yeah, okay, so which we had there in the conference finals, we had the Warriors beating the Mavs and the Celtics beating the Heat in seven. Great series. The Warriors finished theirs in 5 games, I believe, and the Celtics Heat just came down to the very end with honestly a shot from Jimmy Butler that y'all have to ask you, Jacob, how you feel about that. That to take the lead with about 20 seconds left in the game. And now we have a Warriors Celtics matchup. Um, Jacob, I'm not really going to talk. If you want to talk about the Warriors Mavs at some point, you can. But I'm more or less talk about the Celtics Heat series. I mean, what was your big takeaways from that series, and are you surprised at the outcome? And I also want to hear about your thought about Jimmy Butler settling for a three when he had a one-on-one opportunity to tie the game against Al Horford on a fast break.
Um, I mean, I am surprised because I did have the Heat winning that series in 5 games. I'd like to point out that I got the results completely backwards. So I had the Heat winning in 5, and the Mavs winning in 7, and literally the complete opposite happened. So basically, my predictions are all garbage. Um, I mean, I hate when because I mean, like, one of the biggest memes during March Madness is you don't need a three, you don't need a three. It's one of those things that us in the college basketball fan community just make fun of the announcers all the time because it feels like they say that every time when it gets late in the game, but sometimes it's kind of true. And in that situation, it was probably right. I mean, it wasn't like the worst look, but I mean, except when you got Al Horford and you're going one on one, I mean, you kind of like to see him take it. I mean, a big one too was Strus getting called out of bounds on the baseline earlier when his heel wasn't quite down. Stuff like that. I mean, I'm not blaming the game on a really, really bang bang play that honestly, like, live, it probably looked like his foot hit the ground. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Butler averaged like 38 points a game in that series. I mean, he played well. I mean, Adebayo played well. They just didn't quite get what they needed out of Kyle Lowry and Oladipo, in my opinion. Even like Hero and, to a lesser extent, other white guy, Michigan, Duncan Robinson.
Yep.
Except, I mean, I think their two best players played as well as they needed to. They just didn't quite get what they needed out of everyone else. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know how much more you can. I mean, I don't know what more you can ask out of Jimmy Butler in that series.
Okay. Well, here's the thing about my thing. Okay, Jimmy Butler, I'm completely fine with that shot, and I completely agree with him taking it. I mean, he had no problem with it. He had no problem with taking that shot. It seemed like his teammates, his coaches, the Heat were injured. They were hurt. They were down. I mean, you had Lowry out. I mean, injured. I mean, I just what's Tyler Hero was out most of the series. I mean, he came back in game. I can't remember if he came back game 6 or not, but he for sure was back game 7. I mean, their team was injured. they were hurting. Jimmy Butler was the only person that. Okay, sorry, my phone got unplugged there. Jimmy Butler was the only player that was like keeping that team alive, and I think Jimmy Butler knew that taking their chances in overtime against the Celtics when their team is so beat up and just kind of probably exhausted from just playing with all these injuries. I feel like, and I'm not even saying that that's a thought process. I don't think any player comes up down the corner fast break. She's like, we're injured. We have, injured. We're not going to be, not to have a great chance in overtime. I think he just took the shot because it felt right. But in hindsight, I think for how injured their team is and like has been this series, I think it was a smart decision just to try to end it because I don't think they wanted to go in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I mean, it's one of those things where I mean, like I said, I mean, in the moment, I mean, you just kind of do. I mean, what you're going to do. Like I said, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I to this day, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm just saying is that my point here too is that like so I was listening to all these like shows. It was pissing me off because honestly, with this shot, like everybody was talking about how like everyone's like, this is what Jimmy Butler was thinking. This is what Jimmy Butler was thinking when he was taking the shot. Like one people just like, I think it was Kendrick Perkins was like, Jimmy Butler didn't take the shot because he knew that the Celtics got this great defense and like, the Celtics they're not gonna and then
Yeah, no, he just saw an opportunity to end the game and he went for it. I mean,
and then Stephen A is just like, no, it's because his team is injured and hurt. And I was like, do you think like in that 3 second span when Jimmy Butler got the ball, that's all what he was thinking? No, like Jimmy Butler dribbled up the court, saw an opportunity just to win the game, and he took it. I don't think any thought process in his head was happening of like anything besides that. Like it just pissed me off like hearing about that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, people like to make things a little more complicated than they actually are, and that's one of those things where it's like I said, I mean, like you're not thinking about stuff like that when you're playing. Like I said, I mean, like he thought, hey, I can end it here, and I mean, Jimmy Butler is notoriously a bad shooter, so I mean, maybe it's a bad shot, but I mean, like, would you rather have Hero shooting that? Sure, but I mean, like I said, I mean, you have a chance to put it away, try to put it away,
Well, my thing too. Well, Jimmy Butler, he played 4 good games. 4, because the first 2 games he played, he balled out. The last 2 games he balled. In the middle 3 games, Jimmy Butler had 27 points in all 3 games. He was averaging 9 points a game in those middle 3 games. I know Jimmy Butler was hurt and he had a sore knee, but I mean, he came back those last 2 games and balled out. So he balled out in the last 2, but I mean, he had the time right in the middle of that series, and in the middle of that series when he had 9 points, Celtics won 2 of the 3 games that happened there.
I mean, so a very similar thing happened in the finals against the Lakers. I mean, like I said, I mean, he played really well, but I mean, honestly, I mean, he just got gassed.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think, and I'm not trying to say, I mean, Celtics won. I mean, a lot of the Heat players still played. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there say if the Heat were completely healthy, it's a different series and they win it. But also the Celtics were hurt. I mean, Marcus Smart didn't play a couple of games. Robert Williams didn't play a couple of games. I don't think he played. I think he didn't play 1 game, but he was injured. So I mean, both teams had injuries on both sides. So
I don't ever like the injuries card because I mean, here's the thing. I mean, every team is injured, and honestly, staying healthy is a virtue of being a good basketball team. I just don't like the idea that they were hurt. I mean, yeah, but I mean, depth is a big part of basketball. Like I said, this isn't. I mean, like I said, I'm like this isn't college where you can win on going 6 guys deep. That's not a thing. That's not a thing in the NBA. You have to be able to go deep. And if you're not deep enough to be able to handle guys being injured, then that's just too bad. Like I said, I mean, if they're healthy to win the series, maybe not. That's the thing is you never know. But what we do know is who played, and of the guys who played, the Celtics were better. So I mean, that's all that you can really say about that.
And I would have been upset if the Celtics would have lost because they were definitely, I should say, more talented team. and they're like defensively well sound. So if the Celtics would have lost that series, I think it'd have been. I think the Celtics, the front office would have had been making some moves to make some changes next year or something. Because I mean, I think they should have won that series easily. They didn't, but they finally made it back for their first finals since 2010, and I'm really excited for this. But so Jacob, I mean, just kind of looking forward then. So we got Celtics Warriors matchup in this NBA Finals, and what's your prediction, and what do you think this finals is going to look like?
I am super torn. I mean, so we were talking about this before the show. I mean, the Warriors have been there, and they're still very good. They got lots of talent everywhere. But I mean, the Celtics play super good defense. I think they can keep Curry under control. With Smart and Williams. And between that crew, Tatum, Brown, they're all really good defenders. And I think they can take care of what the Warriors are doing. But I mean, the Warriors have done a really good job in the playoffs of taking away the other team's best guy. They did it to the Mavs. They did it to the Nuggets. Who they played in the second round?
Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies. They took away Ja. They're doing a good job, and I think where the Celtics make up for pretty much having one go-to guy, they get back, and everyone else being very solid players. Jaylen Brown is great. So Marcus Smart is great and playing good defense. But I think if the Warriors can take away Tatum like they've taken away the other stars in those series, like I think they'll win it. So. And the Warriors have gotten really creative defensively in the playoffs. I saw a video the other day. They gave in just the first quarter of Game 1, they defended Luka pick and rolls like 7 or 8 different ways. So I mean, they do a good job of mixing up the defense. So I mean, I'm gonna have to take the Warriors. It won't be any less than 6 games, and I think it'll be 7, just because I think these are two teams that match up pretty well with each other. And I think Tatum's hungry. I think Brown is hungry. I think that whole team is hungry. You got a Greg Popovich protege coaching that basketball team. So I think the coaching is quite even. I mean, I think it's going to come down to who makes shots, really.
Clearly, Celtics, they've been my team. I'm still rolling with them. I'm gonna say. I mean, in our text message, I said Celtics in 6. I'm gonna say Celtics. I got to stick with my team. I got to stick with them. I mean, just like all the other times in our podcast where you roll with Michigan and like Michigan with the in the college football playoffs, thought you're crazy. I'm gonna roll with the Celtics.
Admittedly, that's much less crazy than thinking Michigan was going to beat Georgia in hindsight.
Yeah, well, but the Celtics, like you said, the Celtics play defense. They got offensive power. They're very sometimes inconsistent on the offensive side, where they'll have 3 really good quarters in a game and then just play really terrible. I mean, that was both the Heat. I mean, the first 4 games of the series, first 2 games or 3 games or whatever it was, the Celtics beat the Heat in like every quarter, but like 2 quarters, and lost 2 games in that period. And I just think that's the Celtics, that they can just go on the streak where they play really, really well, but they'll have like 1 quarter a game where they kind of just they're non-existent. And I mean, I think that team has a bright future. I'm not saying they're going to be the next Warriors, but they have a lot of talent. I think they'll be. But the East is a tough way, especially with Giannis there. So, but I mean, I'm excited for this series. I think it's going to be a good. I don't think if it goes less than 5, I'd be surprised. I'd honestly be surprised if it went less than 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, I would too. I mean, and the Celtics have really turned around. I mean, last year was a nightmare of a season. People are talking about needing to trade Jaylen Brown, and this year, the first third to half of the year was just a total nightmare. And now here they are in the finals, and I mean, it worked out. Except, I mean, they stuck with the system. They rolled their guys out. They let their rookie head coach this year, like I said, Pop protege. I mean, they let him figure it out, and it worked. I mean, this was a good. I mean, like I said, I mean, the Heat. I said I couldn't really see anyone in the East beating the Heat, and I mean they proved me wrong. And they look good in that series. So
Yeah, no, it'll be a fun series to watch. Like I said, we got first game on tonight and kind of be spread out. When we talk about this next, we'll be 3 games in to the finals, and then you'll probably have to finish it off by yourself or with someone, because then I'll be taking a month-long sabbatical from the podcast. So, but I think it's interesting. I think we'll have a great series to watch here, and I mean, like I said, the Warriors aren't as star-powered as they have been in the past in the finals, but I mean, they've been here many times before. They have the experience. They got great players all around them, and the Celtics are a young team that's got talent and plays defense. So, I mean, I think it'll be a good series to watch for.
I have to agree.
But moving on from the NBA Finals, so we have college basketball. So some more basketball talk about, and the news that we have for today is about Gonzaga, where Gonzaga has 3 returning players. We've got Timmy, Strother, and Bolton to return to Gonzaga next year, which also, I don't know exactly. I'm sure if we look at the recruiting, I'm sure they have at least one top 5 player coming to Gonzaga, and they always have these recruits. They got some big names coming back, especially Timmy. Probably could consider him one of the best college basketball players in college basketball, right? Even this last year, you could probably in the top 3-5 players in the college basketball, and he's coming back to Gonzaga next year for his senior year. Probably wants a little redemption, wants to win that national championship, and I think it's probably why he came back. Also, I'll talk about Timmy with you too, Jacob, but I also feel like he's one of those players that, like, he's a really good college basketball player, but once he gets to the NBA, he's not going to do much, in my opinion. And so I feel like he maybe realizes that too. So he's just like, I'm just going to come back and play for Gonzaga. And I'm sure he's got an NIL deal there too for something. So I'm sure he's making money at Gonzaga. So he's like, might as well stick it out for a year, try to win a national championship. But Jacob, with these players coming back, and I have to look it up, but like, I'm sure they got some top recruits coming there. Would Gonzaga be the favorite to win it next year?
The consensus that I'm seeing, even with these 3 guys coming back, and I'd have to agree, is that that the favorite is probably still North Carolina. I think the group they're bringing back is better than these guys, but it all kind of depends on how the recruiting class shakes out. I actually don't think Gonzaga has any big name guys coming in, but they snagged one of those LSU guys who left, and I just saw. I didn't realize this, but this was just posted like right after I got to work today. They just landed Malachi Smith out of Chattanooga, who is one of the best transfers available. So they got other guys coming in to fill the hole. I mean, and they got. I mean, Nembhard and Chet were their first and third best players in my opinion. So I mean, they're definitely they lost 2 of the 3 better players. But Strother looked really good last year. He can make strides. I think Bolton's going to make huge strides. He's pretty much been a 10 to 12 point a game guy his all 4 years there, going to his 5th year next year. But I mean, it's always nice to be able to count on 12 to 13 points. I mean, I think Strother could easily come out and get up to 16, 17, 18 next year. If he just can develop a little bit of driving ability. He's more of a 3-and-D guy, so which works fine when we got guys like Timmy, manning the middle.
And I just looked it up. So yeah, I guess Gonzaga doesn't have that great of recruits. I lied. The last couple years they had, so I kind of just assumed. They have one player in the top 100, ESPN top 100, and they have number 96, and they're bringing a power forward in. 4-star recruit. That's the only top 100 player that they have coming in next year. So, I mean, with that happening, bringing these players back will be huge for them, though, to be able to keep
especially Timmy. Like I said, Strother and Bolton weren't as important, and I think even less so Bolton. So, but I mean, getting Strother and Timmy back were really, really huge. Like I said, getting Malachi Smith is big. Like I said, I mean, it kind of looks like he was one of the better transfers left. I mean, I don't think he was one of the better ones like overall, but I mean, bringing in a guy with experience is always nice. What the heck are his stats like? I mean, he was 20th in the nation in scoring line. He was scoring 20 points a game as a sophomore for Chattanooga. So I mean, this guy can play.
Yeah. So and I like to say the same thing too. Like, I didn't realize. I thought maybe they'd bring some more players, but yeah, I wouldn't call them favorite. But I mean, it's big for them to just win the conference again next year. Maybe have a 2 or 3 seed going to the tournament. That's what I predict. I mean, they don't got any. I mean, Timmy's really good, so I guess they could easily go in the tournament with the 1 seed.
I would be utterly unshocked if they came out with the 1. It's one of those things where, like I said, I mean, it's going to be like a lot of people like Arkansas. Duke's always going to be good. Kentucky's going to be good. I mean, Kentucky. I never thought I'd say this, but I mean, Kentucky is bringing back the Wooden Award winner.
Yeah.
Never thought I'd see that happen. But I mean, it's kind of the same thing with guys like Hansborough, Timmy, and a couple years ago Luka Garza. Some of these guys dominate in college, but they honestly, I mean, they just lack the athleticism to be able to compete in the NBA. So, I
was just gonna say, I mean, you come back, like I said, you can be a great player, probably one of the better ones in the league. I mean, as North Carolina find that, like you said, I think they are the favorite, and clearly Duke's gonna have a lot of great recruits coming next year. I mean, they have a new coach, so we'll have to see how that turns out. But North Carolina's definitely fair. I mean, they brought back their Iron Five lead back this year, so it'll be interesting. Yeah, no, that's actually cool. I mean, Timmy's coming back. The Wooden Award winner's coming back. I mean, see these players. I think that's part of the NIL deals is that these players are actually getting paid in college. So now, like, these players who really good in college, I feel like they probably realize too that NBA they're probably not as athletic enough to, be a star in the NBA. So I feel like some of them just like, well, I might as well stay in college, keep on getting paid for my NIL deals, and then, try to win a national championship again, which I think these NIL deals are starting to keep. I think we're starting to see that they're starting to keep some players to stay.
Yeah, they're definitely helpful. I don't know if it made the decision for someone like Timmy, because I mean Timmy wasn't going in any of the mock drafts at all, even in the second round, and was outside of all the big rankings. So I kind of think his agent was like, "Yeah, you're not getting drafted." Like I said, I mean a guy like Oscar Shaw, I can't even say his last name, out of Kentucky. He probably would have went in the second round. Definitely not a first rounder, but like I said, I mean, maybe NIL kept him around.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that like there's some of these players that are really good players, but it's like, they're second round picks. And I feel like in the past, a lot of these guys have just left because they're just like, well, if I don't leave this year, I could have a bad year in college and not get drafted in the NBA at all. But now these guys, if they're being projected to get drafted late second round pick, I feel like a lot of them now are thinking like, well, why not just, if I'm getting paid because I'm at college right now because of these NIL deals, why wouldn't I just stay, maybe try to bump my NBA, my draft, what am I trying to say, his potential or whatever you want to, I can't think of a word right now, to make his draft stock, his stock better for the next year. There we go. By staying another year because he's going to get paid rather than, leaving. Because, I mean, we've had UNC guys, we've seen a lot of people that, even freshmen who are 6th and 7th men on the team, but very athletic, but they leave for the draft after not even playing really their freshman year, but getting drafted late second round. And I just think it's starting to keep people around, honestly. There might be more examples this year, but I can't think of any. So,
yeah, I mean, looking back at North Carolina, I think the biggest pause for me was James Michael McAdoo. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
I remember I said he was our best player for like 2 years. After his sophomore year, he declared for the draft and went like 50th overall. I was like, that makes no sense. Yeah, right. But like I said, I mean, like it might have been one of those things where he was like, I don't know if my draft stock's getting any better. I'd rather just get drafted and just get the money that I can. Said, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, even if you're a first rounder, most guys who get drafted don't play more than 4 or 5 years. Yeah. You have to be good to play longer than that. So, I mean, like a lot of these guys might think, I just want to get in the league, get on my rookie contract, see what happens. But, but like I said, I mean, like a guy like him back in the day probably would have been like $500,000 NIL deal because he was a very notable college basketball player. So, I mean, it's like, I'm going to, if I just play an extra year and see what happens with my draft stock, I'm still going to be making a little bit of coin. I'm not making NBA level money, but I don't think any 19-year-old is gonna scoff at $500,000 or even like $250,000 or even less than
Yeah.
that for some other guys.
Yeah, no, I agree. Um, it just seems to make sense. I think we'll probably see a little bit more of that in the future, but I think it's cool to see Timmy come back. I'm excited. I mean, I loved watching him play throughout the last 2 years, so it'd be fun to watch him come back. And yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about that. Jacob, I think you have some little closing MLB remarks for us to end our show here, correct?
Yes, correct. We were looking kind of thin on news, and yeah, we're at about 25 minutes right now. So I was just kind of putting anything I could find on there. And just for those of you who aren't aware, there's been a little bit of a fantasy football debacle happening in the MLB in the last week. Tommy Pham slapped Jock Peterson over what he believed was cheating during warm-ups last week and got suspended 3 games. And that was kind of the original news story. It was like, geez, this kind of dumb. Like, this guy slapped someone, not hit, not punch. He slapped him in the face, like like Pim slapped him. And then like 2 days later, he comes out, Tommy Pham, and goes, "Yeah, well, I've kind of forgiven Jock. That's in the past. But Mike Trout is a sorry ass commissioner. It's all his fault." So now we're starting to drag Mike Trout through the mud out of nowhere. And Mike Trout is like, "Hey, I didn't even want to do this in the first place. Like, they basically made me because no one else was willing to do it." And you said, and now, it's just honestly, I kind of wonder if it's like a bit or something to generate some press, but like I kind of think not, because like I said, it's so stupid. But I just find it hilarious. I hope more comes out. I just kind of wanted to just bring that up. I've been kind of trying to keep the MLB news kind of fun because people think baseball's boring and no one really cares about the scores. There's nothing fun happening right now, so I'm kind of trying to find stuff like that to talk about. And the second one is on this day, 12 years ago. I'm kind of reversing the roles. Is the day, for those of you that follow baseball, we all know is the day that Jim Joyce robbed Armando Galarraga of a perfect game on the 27th out. And every single year, it gets talked about. Should the MLB like retroactively, overturn that ruling and give him a perfect game? And every year I say yes. Background for those who don't remember. Armando Galarraga had a perfect game going into the ninth inning, got the first 2 outs, and on the last out of the game, he was covering first on a ball that Miggy had to run towards second base for him backhand. And the throw beat the batter by like half a step. It wasn't even close, really. For most MLB umpires, it was pretty easy call. And he called him safe, and he blew it. And it's different if that happened in the seventh inning, and then he finished the game. It's like, well, you never know. Maybe he might have blown it after. There's a whole cascading thing that could have happened after that. But this was literally the last out of the game. If he gets called out, the game's just over. So I think this is one of those rare occasions where the MLB can, and I think should, retroactively go back and give him the perfect game, because he did have a perfect game. That was a perfect game. If the correct call is made, that's a perfect game. Like, that's not something where you want to go, oh, human error is a part of the game. Like, no.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think they should, but then again, it's over. What's done is done. It's over. I don't know. But stuff like that where they're easy. But the thing is, you could say, oh, because what happened exactly there again, Jacob? So if you would have struck him out, he still would have had to strike out 3 more batters, correct? Like, it wasn't the ninth inning that he struck out. That happened the 8th inning, right?
That was the 9th inning. It was the last out of the game.
Oh, I thought it was the 8th inning.
No, the last out of the game. It was the 9th inning. There was 2 outs. He caught the ball and started celebrating. And then Jim Joyce gives a safe. And the look on his face is like the sassy. Like, he was even mad. He was just shocked beyond belief. Like I said, this was like his 8th MLB start. This wasn't Roy Halladay or Clayton Kershaw throwing a perfect game where it's like you kind of expect it to happen eventually. They're so good. Like, this was literally just some random dude.
Yeah.
And like I mean, just the look. I mean, Miggy literally buried his face in his glove. Like I said, like the pitcher, like I said, I'm like Galarraga caught the ball, threw his hands up in the air, and then just like his face just went like pale. He couldn't believe it. And then I mean I can't remember who his name was, but I mean I can see him in my head. Detroit's manager comes running out there. I mean, and he's giving Jim Joyce an earful because he can't believe it. Like no one could believe it. They showed the replay. And like I said, I mean, the throw beat him by half a step. It wasn't like it beat him by like an inch. And you can, and I mean, frankly, if it was close, I think you call him out.
Yeah.
Listen, like if it's like, gee, maybe a tie, maybe it wasn't, just call him out. Like I'm not saying if you know for sure he was safe to call him out, but like if you're kind of like, just call him out.
Yeah.
But the thing is it wasn't close. It wasn't even close. Like, it was half a step. And said, I mean, the umpire just blew it. I mean, like, I don't know what he was thinking. Like, I don't know what was going through his mind. He knew the situation clearly. And I like when I was actually reading up on this, a little earlier today, and like that call haunts him. Like he knows that he screwed this guy out of a perfect game, right? I mean, and it's.
Well, I'm sure he gets reminded about it all the time too.
Oh, I mean, like. I knew his name, and it's only because he blew a perfect game. Like, everyone only knows him as the umpire who blew Armando Galarraga's perfect game.
What a life to live.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I can't, like in MLB, there's been, like, 21 in history. Like, imagine robbing the MLB of 5% of the perfect games of all time because your eyes didn't work for, like, a split second.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. I feel like it's something they could easily change. Will they? No.
Yeah.
But
like I said, I mean, I don't think they ever will. I think they should. Like I said, if this happened in the 8th inning, I say no because, different batters come up. You have to face one extra guy. Like you literally just couldn't know. But this was literally the last out of the game.
Yeah.
And they blew the call. I mean, it's just one of those things where. Like I said, I think they can and should. Will they? I don't think so. I don't think they want to set a precedent of going back and retroactively changing calls like that.
Yeah.
But I think this is an extenuating circumstance, as they would say.
But yeah, I agree with you. I agree. I have nothing to add to your MLB there. So I don't know if you are.
Caller quits about half hour today.
All right. Well, like I said, thank you guys for listening. Next week we'll have the first 3 games of the NBA Finals complete, so we'll have a good outlook on how maybe the series will end up turning out here, and then let's see what else is happening throughout the week as well when we get there. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next.